And it is another episode of the Church Solutions Podcast, 300 something. I don't keep track. Do you keep track, Steve?
I do not. It's your job. You're the podcast coordinator.
Yeah, I need to look and see, but we've been doing this for a long time. We've had a lot of rain here, and my allergies are just going nuts. I've had allergies for all my life, but boy, of all the rain we've had here in Tucson,
We did the old man thing last time.
Yes, let's just whine and complain about things. Let's do that. All right. Well, it could be worse, right? So we're getting a lot of rain here in Tucson, and we're happy about that. So how are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
All right, good deal. A lot going on at your place as usual.
Yes.
All right. Well, today we're going to talk about the good old-fashioned church newsletter and how there can actually be some alternatives to this to spruce it up a little bit. We are in 2021 at the recording here, the time and day of this recording. And, people are on their mobile devices. They're digitally connected now. And so the content that they're getting is pretty much on the mobile devices and the computers. So the old-fashioned church newsletter that you would print out every day is probably going by the wayside. However, I will say this, that if you happen to have a church with older people and they actually read your printed up newsletter, then good for you.
What percentage you think are still doing printed? And you're talking about, we used to get them weekly, right? You print the newsletter and it'd show up in your mailbox. And
or people hand it out, or they'd hand it out.
But now I would assume 99% of newsletters are digitally distributed.
I don't know. Maybe I'm always surprised. I'm always surprised that churches that still don't have websites, or even in this age of COVID, churches not streaming. So it's a big surprise to me if there would be more than that number, but there's probably a few out there. So let's jump into it a little bit this morning. I've got 8 things that I put down here, and we may make a few more up, but let's look at some alternatives. So the first thing I want to point out here when it comes to your newsletter is an alternative to this would be using text messaging. It's actually one of the more popular forms of communication today.
Yes, and it's instant and right away. And so it shows up actually as we were just speaking. I got a text message. So
I heard that. I heard your horn go off there. Yeah. Well, it is. It's very popular. And, people use text messaging now to give and for churches and those kind of things. And look, you don't have to put the whole newsletter in a text. You could actually hopefully you put your newsletter somewhere online on your website on a page maybe, and then you could put a link to that or in the text, or you could put a teaser or maybe 2 or 3 points. But text messaging is obviously very popular, and it's a great alternative to printing out your rag, your newsletter rag is what we used to call it.
Yeah. So the only challenge would be getting people's cell phone numbers, but today, that's becoming more and more prevalent, that being able to get people's cell phone numbers so you can send them text.
Well, I would hope that your church, you've got some kind of a database. If you don't, you should start there. You should start collecting some information on people.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just having everyone's cell phone number. That was usually one of the last things that the church would get. They'd get your name, your address, your city, your state, your phone number, and then eventually your email, and then now your cell phone number.
Today it's so easy to block numbers. And so I usually don't have a problem putting my cell phone number in, I'll just give it out liberally, but I do put it in different things, and I can always block, just like I can always block emails and unsubscribe to emails.
Yeah. I held out for a while because we have a landline that doesn't have a ringer attached, but we would always use it for somebody was calling, they'd leave a message and we'd get the message. But now, and I was protecting my cell phone number, but now I'm become more, like you said, more liberal with it.
I'm blocking numbers every day. I get spam every day. So
that's probably why I'm better off, because I held out longer.
There you go.
I have to block numbers every 2 or 3 days, maybe.
Oh, there you go. All right. Well, good deal. Well, speaking of email, This is another alternative to your newsletter. And actually, there's some really nice platforms out there you can use for either free or very low cost. MailChimp is a favorite. I think there's a thing called SendFox, which I'm not that familiar with. And so you can send out emails. You can make them more personal by using the tools that like MailChimp affords you, gives you. And also there's some pretty good analytics that come with these email services, so to speak. I don't know if you want to call it email service, but whatever I call it. MailChimp is one we use, and my church has used it, and we use it here at streamingchurch.tv as well.
All right. Yep. So that's probably digitizing your newsletter. That's very common. Actually, that's what our church has done. They do send the newsletter, and then typically, I'm not sure, make sure I'm not covering one of your other points, but that include a video in the newsletter. So it makes it even more attractive because people want to see there's 1 minute video of the pastor or the children's pastor or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It makes it a little more fun to consume rather than just reading through the newsletter.
And these email services like Constant Contact, I think that's another one. They come with some pretty good graphics, and so you can really, in no time at all, you can put out a newsletter, and really can do it pretty fast and pretty easy, and it can look pretty good. Yep.
All right. So that text messaging, and then email. What is number 3 on our list?
Number 3, good old fashioned social media. We talk about social media a lot here, but look, you really should have some kind of a presence in social media on your church. If you don't now, you should. And again, if you don't, grab some people in your church that are on social media, and get your church on whatever platform you want. There's lots of different ones out there today: Instagram, Twitter, of course, there's Facebook. And you could use social media. Again, you could put links. I always like to encourage churches to put links that point to their website. And so you could always put a little teaser in your social media thing and point it to your website.
One of the things we counsel against is converting your newsletter into a social media. So you definitely don't want to just take, what I would have normally put in my newsletter, I'm going to put in social media. We're really talking here about just becoming active on social media so that it can replace the need for a newsletter.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Good deal.
Yeah, so,
okay.
Yes.
So as we move on here, nicely, number 4, consider a weekly or a monthly blog. I would go weekly with a blog. And again, this is...
Or daily.
Well, you could do daily. You could certainly do daily. There's people that do daily, and you could certainly do that. But I would say at least weekly, and you could put information in your blog about some of the stuff that you would put in a newsletter. And again, it should be hosted on your website. And again, you're pointing people to your website. And you can put other things in there too. You could put testimonies. You could have stories. You could, you could put resources, Bible resources, maybe some teasers for the message that you're going to speak on or what's happening the next month. So lots of opportunities there through a blog. And again, it's pretty easy to do that today. There's lots of tools out there that make blogging relatively easy. And supposedly the SEO gurus talk about how a blog can help your search engine optimization, right? So
yes. So the other thing you get with these, number 3 and number 4 here is that social media is you get the ability for some two-way interaction. So all the blog platforms have comment sections where you can comment and provide feedback and that sort of thing. So it allows your people to not only just consume what's going on, but to also chip in to the discussion.
Yeah, and again, we're talking about raising your communication here to a higher level. That's what we're really talking about. And you might be listening to this podcast and say, well, it's too much work. Well, look, you want to connect with people. And if you get a system down, it's not going to be that much more work than printing out a newsletter, and dealing with all that stuff. So really, you want to take what you're doing to a higher level. And communication is so important. And like you said, connecting with people on social media, blogging, certainly fits that bill.
Yes. All right. So we have number 5. What is number 5?
Number 5 is Amazon Alexa Flash Briefing. So this is a little self-serving here. We came out with a product, and I forgot to mention it at the beginning of our podcast here. It's called My Church Daily, mychurchdaily.com. Look it up. And this is a tool that we recently released, and it enables you, your church, to be able to be on a flash briefing, which Alexa offers, the Amazon Echo devices out there. And this is really pretty slick. You can do it. It's audio only, and it's meant to be short. So we're talking 3 to 5 minutes at the most. I guess you could go longer, but you don't really want to, I don't think. And this is something, the Alexa devices are taking over. I mean, there's smart speakers are all over the country and all over the world, for that matter. A large percentage of people have smart. I've got probably 5 or 6 of them in this house.
Yes, we do too. And we're gaining another one here soon. Yes.
So
we're finding we can't be too far from one here.
There anymore. You go. And look, I know that, again, people get a little critical about this stuff, but you want to go to where the people are. And right. People are getting these devices, and they're very helpful devices.
Yes, we broke down recently, and Persh replaced our fridge, and our fridge talks on Amazon Alexa. Wow. Not sure exactly what we can do with tell Alexa to serve me, a drink or something. I don't know. Tell that fridge to cool off. So. Wow,
that's interesting. Yeah, I guess I'd heard about that. I'd like to know more about that sometime. But so mychurchdaily.com, look it up. We have a free 14-day trial. It's reasonable. It's something that your church can use, your leadership team could use. I guess you could even do it personally if you wanted to, but it's really designed to connect with the church members. And so this would be a great alternative to a newsletter.
Yep. Yeah. And it changes every day, and it's personal. Because it's got, the voice of your pastor or whoever's, right. Whatever personality within the church, your associate pastor. At our church, we're doing the daily devotionals. So they have actually a devotional series that's year long. And so they're basically just walking everyone through the daily devotion. So they're doing actually 7 days a week.
Well, and here's the deal. I'm trying to hear the voices out there like, oh, that's a lot of work. Well, really it's not. I mean, if you set up a schedule, and once you get in the routine of recording things, you can whip it out, and you can certainly, you can upload a number of them at one time. So it's not like you have to do it every single day, but you could actually sit down and put something together. And again, it doesn't have to be very long at all.
Yeah, our pastor's doing them, I think actually on Sunday afternoon.
Really?
Says it takes him for the whole week. So he'll record for the whole week in one sitting.
Okay.
So
yeah.
And
you can get in a routine, and you can do it. It doesn't take long. All right, let's move on here. So My Church Daily, look it up. Number 6 on our alternatives to the good old-fashioned church newsletter. Number 6 is a weekly video. Now, I used to do this with your pastor years ago, and we did it very simple. It was very simple to do. We used YouTube, and we just used this phone, maybe not this one, but another one. And we I would sit down with Jeff Love and in his office, and it would be quiet, and the lighting was decent, and I would just hit record, and Jeff would have a short little weekly video that he would talk about things happening, coming up. And then we would just upload it to YouTube. We'd link it to the newsletter. We would do different things with it. And again, so simple to do. You could even do it yourself. I helped him do it, but you could even do it yourself. And you can even put your smartphone on a stand or something and do it. And again, doesn't take a lot of time to do it. You got to think a little bit about what you're going to say, but say it, upload it, and you're ready to go. A weekly video.
Yeah. And again, the best part of it is it's very personal. You're sitting there chatting with the pastor or whatever it may be. So it's addressed to the congregation, and it's from your your pastor.
Right. You could you certainly could upload it to YouTube or Vimeo, and people could subscribe to that. Or you could, again, like I just said earlier, you could link it and send the link out to people, text the link out to people, email the link to people, put the link on the website, or you could host the video on your own website, I guess, too. So a weekly video, again, changing things up here, getting out of the old habit of like, all right, let's try to get this newsletter. Oh no, we're out of ink. Oh no, the printer jammed, So get past all that. All right. That was number 6, weekly video.
Yes. And number 7 is to do a podcast.
Which is what we're doing. What is
a podcast?
What we're doing here, and what we've been doing this for a long time before it was fashionable to do podcasts. We've been doing it, and a podcast is something you can again use for information. You can go ahead, you tell us.
I mean, is it fashionable yet? I guess it's very the audience is very segmented. So if you want to reach the young, the up and coming, I think the numbers are just dramatic for those that participate daily with podcasts, probably in the 80% and above range of under 25s that are or under 30s that are participating in podcasts every day. So, and then those numbers kind of wane off as you get older in the older demographics. But
yeah,
go ahead.
You're probably right. I don't have the stats. I guess I could have looked them up, but I was too lazy to look them up. But I think it seems like everybody's got a podcast. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it seems like
just talking about podcast listeners. Yes,
yeah.
It varies depending on, and I think it varies quite a bit based on age.
Right.
So if you're looking to reach, the younger section of your church, you want to definitely put together a podcast. Then those guys are tuned in and understanding what the podcasts are all about. And I know all of my kids who are now older, 30 and 30 plus, and their wives, they all listen to podcasts, just a variety of different things.
We've on our Church Solutions podcast here, we've actually done once or twice over the years how to do a podcast, and we could certainly, I think we've got information on it somewhere. We've probably got something on our blog, so let us know if you want some more help with that. But yeah, I think it's a great tool to reach out to people and use people, but I can't believe your kids are in their 30s already.
And then the other thing that's with this, you can decide whether you want to do weekly, monthly, or daily. I mean, you could do a daily podcast. There's definitely news programs that are all daily, but probably weekly is probably the best target or the right size chunk to put a podcast together.
Yeah. And again, some people are going to ask me, how long should it be? I mean, we generally do this podcast under 30 minutes usually. But I know you listen to podcasts more than I do, but I know there's some out there like an hour or 2 hours long. I can't handle that.
Joe Rogan, most popular podcast on the planet. I think he's like 3 hours.
Good grief.
So, yes.
Yeah, I think my son listens to him or something.
Yeah, he is the number one podcaster and has been for a little while.
Yeah, well.
And his format is, I've listened to a few of them, but typically I don't subscribe to Joe Rogan, but I probably would enjoy it. But he's interviewed somebody that we know well, Dominic Cruz.
Oh, Dominic, yeah. What's the term? I'm going to get it mixed up. What, MMA? Is that what it is?
Yes, UFC, UFC, MMA.
Yeah,
he's a nationally recognized MMA commentator and fighter. So who grew up in our church.
Yeah, I remember my wife used to, and your wife did probably too.
So Joe Rogan, I mean, that's kind of his background, and he interviewed Dominic for a 3-hour session. So
really,
it was interesting.
We should probably have Dominic on here sometime.
Yeah.
I don't know what we talk about. How to beat people up or something, I guess. I don't know.
All right. And you've got bonus number 8.
Yeah, number 8. I just wrote this down. So you're going to laugh when you hear this, but consider, instead of your usual newsletter that you print out, consider sending out a weekly, wait for it, weekly postcard.
And you've been influenced by, because you did a postcard campaign to help build your church in Kansas, right?
Yeah, I did that. That's really gave us quite a jump start. And you can do bulk mailing. So this takes a little bit of work, but you can get a bulk mailing stamp or whatever they call it. And the postcards I used for years off and on, and I think I even used them for the church here in town that I used. And I think we even did it with your church years ago, was outreach marketing. It put together some really nice postcards and, with really very catchy image and interesting image. I remember the one that I used that got the most response was this pug, I think it is, this pug licking this girl's face. It was on the postcard, and it said, our church is kind of like this, only not as sloppy or something, or not as messy. But the idea was, we're friendly and we love on people, so to speak, and but we got a lot of response from that one. I've used it twice. But so look, a weekly postcard, I'm not just talking a bland, ugly postcard. I'm talking about something that has a nice image every week, something a little different. And again, you don't want to cram a bunch of stuff in it because it's just a postcard, but you might want to put 2 or 3 points on what's happening. And then of course your church website and those kind of things. But here's the deal. And I think your son experienced this too with his dental practice, right? I mean, people do still get mail. They still get snail mail.
Yes, yeah. I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast or not, but yes, my son's started a new dental practice and invested heavily in the whole digital side because that's where we thought everything was.
Right.
And it really didn't work for him. But what the physical mailers is what did it for him.
Yeah, and I've gotten those from other dentists. And look, people are seeing they get their mail. They're gonna look at it real quick. If it's catchy, they're gonna hang on to it for a little bit. They'll at least look on the back. If you did that every week, and again, there's ways to do this with bulk mailing, and so it's not an awful lot of work. It probably takes a little bit of work.
My son actually beat the sidewalk, and when he's building the practice and didn't have many patients, he would walk the neighborhoods and just pass out.
There you go.
Brochures.
Oh, you can even get door hangers. Yeah, you could get door hanger. I think we did that one time.
And he got patients for that route, just walking the neighborhoods.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Well, and that's a whole nother podcast, but you could, when it comes to outreach, you could still do some of that. Look, I come from the days in the 70s where when you walked to a door and banged on it, somebody opened it up. I actually had people invite me in and sit down and have coffee with them and talk about our church, talk about Jesus, those kind of things. Those days are few and far between, I think. I did it once for the church when I worked for your church. And we did it when we had something on the Northwest side, when we had 2 campuses. And I remember we knocked on doors and nobody opened the door. This was back in the, late 90s. I mean, it was just, crazy. So we're off track here, but getting back to weekly postcards, I mean, it's something to consider because it does work. And I remember I helped start a church years ago here in town, and he would use those, but he used, there used to be this thing called the Dandy Dime, or the Little Shopper, I think was another one that we had that I don't even know they're still existing, but he would buy, our senior pastor would buy advertising either on the front or the back of it. Didn't want to buy anything inside. Now this was a Little Shopper. This was like one ads and, car ads and different things like that. But we used it and was quite effective in building what's now called the Bridge here in Tucson.
Yeah, it was really effective. And actually, my son dental practice bought front page of one of those shopper things.
Still make them? They still do them, huh? Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, it's down on our coffee table right now with he and his partner. They bought the front page of the thing.
Oh, well, there you go. So, I mean, that's an advertising thing. That's probably not what we're talking about today.
Right. We're talking newsletter, which is really geared for your, people that are part of your church.
Right. But, that's the bonus here. Yeah. If you're thinking about doing some advertising to reach your neighborhood, that might be an alternative. Okay, so that's it. If you want to give us some thoughts on this, reach out to us, support at streamingchurch.tv. Check out mychurchdaily.com, another product that we just recently released. And we'd love to hear from you on this thing. We'd love to even get your thoughts on mychurchdaily.com. So look it up, take a look at it, and always open to your feedback on our Church Solutions podcast too.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. He is Steve Lacy. My name is Phil Thompson. Thank you for spending some time with us today. Hope this has been helpful. Whatever we can do to help your church, that's what we're into, because we've been doing this now for a long time, 20 years with this company. And a number of people working with this company have been involved in ministry longer than that. So whatever we can do to help your church, that's what we're into. So, all right, take care of yourselves and give somebody a hug. And we will talk to you next on the Church Solutions Podcast.